welcome everybody. I have to say, everybody looks amazing
Thank
tonight.
you, Jim.
Okay, Rick.
This is Zegna.
Yeah,
My grandmother stitched.
who's the stylist?
I thought, actually, Aaron told me this was a voiceover production.
I tricked Rick. Gabriel and Patrick weren't going to be here tonight. It's my only chance to look good next to somebody, so I said, Rick, no suit.
Yeah, that's what it was that did it.
That's great. Well, let's dive in and talk about these episodes. This was an amazing one for everybody. Aaron, just tell me kind of early on, this is obviously the storyline where we're at this point. It's been a long time coming. Why was now the right time to really get into the mic of it all and the legality of it all in the big way?
I think, obviously the premise of the show is this guy is a fake lawyer, he's a fraud. And you can only play the danger of him getting caught so many times. And I feel like we did a great job of kind of letting it wax and wane throughout the years. And finally, it was something we were afraid of because it's sort of bringing down the premise of the show. Every year at the end of the season, starting with when Trevor told Jessica that Mike was a fraud at the end of season 1, we've done something that's sort of scared the shit out of me. And you have to do that, otherwise you're just going to be doing the same things over and over again. So finally we just thought at the beginning of season 5, let's just do it. Let's just have him get caught, see what happens.
And so since this has been going on since the beginning of the show, is all this playing out the way you always envisioned it, or has it changed along the way?
I originally wrote Suits as a spec script to get a job on a show I never thought it would sell in a million years. So I had no episode 2 in mind even. So yes, it's different than I thought, I would say.
I never knew that.
I never knew that.
Well, it certainly explains a lot.
I'm terrified now.
They always ask me what's going to happen, and I say, I'm not keeping things from you. I don't know.
That's
and
true.
They always ask us what's going to happen, and I say, I don't know.
And I say, he doesn't know.
I say, God knows.
Donna knows.
I know.
It does. Always. And obviously this affects everybody as we see, the show's a family. Everybody is affected by what's going on with Mike. Megan, I want to ask you, since you're the closest to Mike probably being his fiance, how is playing some of these scenes?
Well, Rachel is. I mean, I don't know Mike. I wouldn't be with Mike. This is a disaster.
Well, speaking for Rachel, but talk about shooting some of these scenes, because they're really great scenes between you and Patrick, and different than maybe you played before. Even there's been tension in the past, but this is big stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stakes are so high, obviously. Well, first of all, you guys, hi. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Hey. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, the stakes are high for everyone, but of course, Rachel is standing by her man, and, it's obviously upsetting her relationship with her parents. Who's not afraid of Robert Zane? And then I think really like everything that she has at play here, all of her aspirations as a lawyer, this is going to trickle into all of it. And so for her, beyond just like the lovey-dovey stuff of wanting to build a life with him, it is a bigger picture problem for her. And what I really appreciate, as an actor, as well as the character, is being able to watch the choices she makes, whether I agree with them or not, to say, let's live in the reality of the fact that she is so fiercely loyal with him. And at the same time, she's putting so much on the line. So I think there is a moment in these next 6 episodes, which is great, where she goes, you kind of want to acknowledge that? Because, I think it's really easy sometimes to perhaps take that for granted. And Rachel, in this part of the season especially, is really so incredible with Mike. And so, yeah, it gets tricky, as we all know it will, but it gets trickier than even I expected it to get.
Well, Aaron, as far as the whole, who sold Mike out question, how long do we wait for that? When did you know that would be put in the show? We didn't find out in this episode, obviously.
You don't have to wait too much longer. I happen to have 512 in my pocket right now, if you guys want to just cue it up. No.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it.
I don't. I'm sorry. We will find out in episode 512. And the truth is, everybody had a lot of different ideas on who it should be. I think the probably every individual writer or actor or any audience member has a different idea of who it should be and why they should have done it. I just took the approach, I'll just say this, that the person who it was has a different reason for turning him in than almost all the others would have had. It's just different motivation, and that's what kind of led me to land on who it is.
I know, right? That's good. I'm thinking.
all
I'm thinking.
around.
Well, for the actors, were you surprised when you found out? Because I know these episodes have been shot. Were you surprised, or did you kind of guess it?
Gob.
I actually got to
Yes.
tell them.
Oh, I remember
Actually,
I
that.
found
You
out
did.
first.
You did.
That's true.
And then we were all
right.
jealous that like, oh, you talked to Aaron?
Yeah.
And
I
why
talked
did he
to
tell
Aaron.
you?
Oh, you talked to Aaron. Why'd he tell you? I thought I was his favorite.
No, but I
You're all
got
my favorites.
to break
No,
the
no, no.
news.
Rick's the favorite child.
Except for Rick.
I got to break the news, to the entire during that read through, and it was very fun. It was like, you know, because I usually don't know things first, so it was very nice.
I didn't see that one coming at all. Like that was the
This is how Rick Hoffman speaks, by the way.
Yeah.
It's true.
In vowels.
Gina, let me ask you, because Jessica is kind of the overseer. I don't know if you call her the mother of everybody or just she oversees the whole firm, so it's kind of she's head of the family. How is she going through all of this? What will we see in these episodes? How much it'll weigh on her?
It's a mess. It's a hot mess. It's what you would call a soup sandwich, right? Like a hot mess. Look, she is trying her best to keep it all together. I love that scene, by the way, between Robert Zane and what's her name? Jessica. Jessica Pearson. It's a great scene.
Oh yeah, that girl. She's got great style.
Yeah, she's great. I identify very closely to her. And I just remember reading it thinking it was so personal and it stung so deeply because, of course, he is talking about a woman that she has strived her entire life to become. And because of one stupid decision, it's all crumbling around her. And she is doing her best to keep it all together. And that's what you see. I mean, these next 6 episodes, it's really about how the hell she's dancing as fast as she can. How the hell do we fix this? How do we make this okay? For everybody. Mostly for me, but for everybody.
Well, and also a big chunk of this episode is the Lewis, Donna, Harvey of it all. And of course, you know, we see that there is some resolution there, but you know, I have to say I love the scenes between Sarah and Rick. There's such a genuine and care between you guys and between the characters. But talk about some of those scenes, and you know, I do want to know, Rick, how hard is it for Lewis to kind of let Donna go? Because he ultimately is the one that kind of pushes her out.
Well, obviously you could tell for Lewis it was like, you know, devastating. For me, personally, and I actually was asked a question.
Speak for me.
No, but like I actually was asked a question on the carpet about what do you prefer when Donna works for Lewis or not? And I actually miss Donna working for Harvey because I just love some of my favorite scenes were as an actor, like, you know, trying to like, you know.
Like the one,
know,
like
you
the
know,
one-up
like
stuff.
not, I mean, I wouldn't say not in a sexual way, but like pretty much try to. No, I'm serious. Like
It's
try
sexual
to.
for Donna.
What are you about to say right
No, I'm saying.
Thank you all for
Try-
coming.
Try to proposition Sarah to work for my character, and those to me were the most funny scenes when Lewis was like, "I want you, goddammit," you know, and things like that, trying to prove himself to her. It's, you know, there was some serious material that Lewis and Donna had to deal with in season 5 that I was surprised, you know, it was pretty heavy. So.
But I feel the same way, Rick. I would agree with you that I remember, and I talk about this a lot when I'm asked questions. I remember the first scene that our characters had together back in season 1 when Lewis asks Harvey if he can borrow Donna, and Harvey's like, "You gotta go ask her yourself."
Right.
And he kind of sits back like, "This is gonna be good." And that was the first time that dynamic was established with our characters. And then I felt like the characters were off and running and had this kind of competitive.
The challenging each other with tickets or with, you know, with Lewis's weird hobbies,
Yeah.
putting in his face. To me, it was the perfect amount of time for Lewis to let go finally.
But I loved how all those scenes in the seasons that led up to this established the depth of the friendship between these two people, the kind
that's
of
for sure.
and the understanding of each other, so that when
Excuse
they
us
do
for a
break
second.
up a little
I
bit.
mean, seriously, it's like sexual
Talk
and
amongst
proposition.
yourselves.
I was like, I'm in the middle of a really good date right now. Like, sorry, guys.
It's always good.
The
always good.
the Shakespeare episode to me, I thought was like the real template for Lewis and Donna. I
Yeah,
just
for
thought
the
that was-
depth of their friendship, and
Yeah.
like it plumbed that
Yeah.
depth. But what I loved, I was in ADR last
Would you like
week.
to go get a drink and discuss it?
Yeah.
Or
I have your number. But I was watching the scene that we just saw tonight where Lewis lets her go. And I was doing ADR last week. And when I saw the reverse side of that hug, because obviously I was hugging you, so I didn't see what you were doing. I was like, hang on, stop with the beep, 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 beep. I can't do this right now. I was like, oh, Rick. I was really verklempt watching that. I liked it. That was some good shit.
Well, Sarah, since there's a really nice scene between you and Gabriel in this, where Donna's going back to Harvey.
Yeah.
So what's for the Darby fans out there, what is, if you want to answer this, or maybe Aaron can, like what for the fans of Darby, what are we seeing moving forward?
Aaron.
Go ahead,
Aaron?
Sarah.
No.
I'd like to ask Sarah, I think I've asked her this before, but I'm not sure. Where do you come down on whether you want Harvey and Donna to be together or not?
Whoa, doing my dirty
Tell you
work for me.
exactly where I come down. I like
After that, tell them your social security number and your birthday.
This brings me back to the moment at the end of season 4. When I was in New York City, you were in Los Angeles, and the finale was about to air. And we called each other up on the phone because you and I were both equally scared about the reaction to Donna leaving Harvey.
Yeah. I've never been afraid.
You've never been afraid. Look, I mean, here's my answer. I'm really glad I don't have to make those decisions. It's not up to me.
I want them to be together. I want them to be together.
She's a shipper.
You a shipper?
She's a shipper.
I'm a Darby shipper.
I think for me, just from an acting standpoint, it's really fun, this slow burn that somebody once called it in the press, the slowest of slow burns. This relationship is complicated and we don't know what it is from scene to scene. But you've observed so many times, Aaron, that even if we're playing a scene very platonically or we're playing it very romantically, everybody's going to put on it what they want to see.
Yes.
And that's kind of the most interesting thing. And one of the most fulfilling things about being on Twitter is, Gabriel and I and Aaron or the director or the writer on set, we can decide to play a scene a certain way and you'll decide to cut it together a certain way and everybody will view it a different way through their lens. And, we can see that on our Twitter feed as the show airs, and it's kind of fascinating.
Aaron, I did want to ask you, especially since I'm guessing you're planning season 6 at the moment. You're working on
Yes,
things.
we started about 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay, season 6.
Very exciting.
What at this point, do you kind of know where things are going, or do you still weigh in with your actors and kind of see what they think? What do you think about that?
Okay, remember when I said I thought it was a spec script that would never sell? No, what happens is usually at the end of a year, we're fried to some degree as writers and the actors. It's a long season. It's a grueling season. And I haven't even finished, let me say this, I have not even seen 5, 14, 15, or 16. I have not seen them, even though we're back working on season 6. So when we come back in the new year, we just start to brainstorm, and that's really when we start to lock in and figure out what we're going to do for that given season. So in terms of long term, no, we leave it open to feel what's right in the moment. And these guys remember 5/16, the night before we shot a very important scene in 5/16. They did come to me. They wanted to change it. I had been torn on which way to go anyway, and Gabriel mentioned it first. And when he said it, I was like, we got to change it. He's right. I don't want to do what we had landed on. And it was the night before we shot a very important scene. We changed it, and I hope everybody was happy with it.
But it's a testament to how you are, and I don't know, like people. I've worked on a couple of series that really did very well, and the actual serious part is the creators were very established, and not as available as you. And like that actual moment.
Rick, I'm a little busy
Just
right
take
now.
it easy. I'm actually gonna finish a sentence for once.
Sorry.
So what you did that night, and what, I think it had something to do with Megan and whatever it was. That's like to have that availability for actors in season 5. It's very rare, and it says something about who Aaron is, and it's why the show still stays, at least in my opinion, seems fresh, because he keeps his mind open. We all have a little bit of ego, but like at this stage of the game, I've really never met anybody like Aaron who has that quality to be in touch with his actors that much. So I'm just letting you know.
Thanks, buddy.
And if I remember right, we actually have some of the other Suits writers in the audience. I don't know where they are. If you guys stand up.
As well as
There we go.
those guys.
90% of what we come up with, they think of it. The 10 best percent is probably comes from me, but no, I'm kidding. Almost everything we come up with, they come up with it. It's amazing. Most of them have been there from the first season, not quite all of them from the first season, but they dominate the source of all the goodness of what we come up with on the show from a writing standpoint, and give them a big hand.
And I know we have at least one actor in the audience, maybe some more. I think Leslie Hope is here, who you saw in this episode. Where are you, Leslie? There she is.
That's
way in
Anita
the back.
Gibbs over there.
She's amazing. She is out for blood.
So amazing. Oh, she's so good.
And let me
Out for
say, you're
blood.
going to be tempted to not like her throughout the course of these last 6. But I would say, let's not forget, we did what she is coming after us for doing. So she's just doing her job.
That's
Just
irrelevant.
doing her job. And Leslie and I were talking about it before. My very first pilot ever, we did together, which was so exciting. We were laughing, saying like, that's when I was like, oh my God, there's a fruit basket. What does this mean? Like everything was exciting, and I learned so much from her. So it's really nice, full circle to all be back together.
Well, and the good thing about this episode, too, we started seeing some faces we haven't seen in a while. We saw Trevor again. We saw Scotty. Aaron, can you talk about who else we might be seeing in these coming episodes?
Charo, I think is coming.
Charo.
Coochie coochie.
Charo.
Yeah, Charles coming. I think from a relationship standpoint, if you actually look at, say, for Scotty came back, it's as sort of an love interest for some of our characters. There's going to be a theme of that. Some other people's ex-love interests may be coming back into the picture a little bit, and some of it just has to. There's going to be a lot of foes, friends, enemies, all coming back. But one of the things I would focus on are certain other characters' past love interests are going to be making an appearance soon.
Gina, I'm kind of looking at you. Have we seen any love interest for
Are you looking at me?
I'm looking at you.
Wow.
Tease, perhaps.
Maybe. That would be the right word. Tease. That would be the right word. Yeah. Oh, Jessica.
Okay. Aaron, did you kind of see these 6 episodes as a reason to bring those back? That's a great reason to do it, but it is fun to kind of see these people pop back up.
I would say, rather than it being a reason to do that, it was more what would be likely to happen. We kind of think of it, I think, more in that way. And people, for example, let's say you had a head of a firm who kept a secret from a man she was falling in love with, and then he finds out what that secret was. He may be someone that would come to her, or she might go to him for some other reason. Anyway, thing is, whenever anybody comes in or leaves in these back 6, it's always nice to have the people back, but you want to do it in a way that seems real and organic and would actually happen, and that's how we thought of it.
So you bring them back just because they're cute.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of this you can talk to, but once we get through these 6 episodes, is Suits still going to be Suits, or is it going to feel very different? What can you say?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking Aaron. Or how
Once
much is-
again, when I wrote the pilot,
It's gonna be skirts.
yeah.
All ladies.
That's the challenge is to look. If you go back to when Mike left the firm, the challenge for us was to keep the show the same while feeling like it was the same show, the same universe, while mixing up the dynamics and making him not in the firm anymore, but keeping him in the world. So that's always the challenge, is when you kind of cross a threshold that you didn't know you were going to cross. how do you figure out a way to keep it both different yet feel like it is the same show? And hopefully we'll do that successfully for at least 9 or 10 more years to come.
We're going to give you guys a chance to ask some questions. So I know there's going to be some people running around with mics. If you want to raise your hand, and we'll get some questions going. I see somebody with the mic over here, so I'm going to start over here. Go right here. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
I'm dressed as you this evening, Donna, in your honor.
Oh my God, amazing.
I'll come out here.
You are so hot.
Thank you. Your
It is
shoes
sort of reminiscent of
are
that like great outfit at the
amazing.
fireplace scene.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. Who does the costuming for you ladies? Are you all custom dressed?
We are all dressed by the same costume designer, Jolie, our best friend. You know, I know for Donna, Donna's always in a dress. She's very feminine. She's always been the character who actually never wanted to be in a law firm. Her aspirations were to be an actress, so she's not feeling like she's dressing for the law world. She's dressing as a woman. And then we have interesting conversations about what's going on in a scene and whether she's more armed or whether she's more open, whether it's a softer color or a softer fabric, those kinds of things. So.
And for Rachel, I mean, again, because they're so distinct, and Jolie is fantastic, is what she does with us. You know, Rachel is, yes, she's a paralegal, and no one as a paralegal is generally wearing a Tom Ford
They
skirt
all
on a Tuesday.
make millions of dollars.
But with that said, I think we have sort of conceived Rachel's wardrobe to be more like a real woman's, where like the skirt that I wore in the very first moment where Rachel meets Mike in the pilot, that same pencil skirt is in my closet now, and I wore it last season, right? So it's like Rachel's closet is lots of separates, so that as a real woman, you invest in pieces that you love and you mix and match them. So I don't have a lot of dresses. So whereas Donna and Jessica will probably never wear the same thing twice.
No.
Rachel I always wear the same thing over and over, and I see on Twitter, they're like, why are you in that same shirt? It's like, because she's supposed to be like a normal girl who's figuring it out and wearing the same sweater, the same skirt, whatever else, and mixing it up. So I appreciate that about her style, because that's how I dress as well. And I don't have that enviable off-the-runway Chanel wardrobe.
That would be me.
Yes.
Very expensive, very tight. And you don't see it twice. That's really it.
Tell them about your
That's all I've got to say.
Tell them about the leaning board. Tell them about your lean board.
Oh, my leaning board. Oh, okay. So
Listen to this.
Yes, it took about 3 seasons to build it because nobody had seen one, and I had, you know, I'd grown up watching those fantastic old movies from the 30s and 40s, and there were these wonderful pictures of Jean Harlow wearing one of those fantastic bias cut like white silk dresses, and she's leaning on a board between takes reading a book. I said, I need one of those. A, because I can't sit down half the time. And B, you know, during a walk and talk, or I'm walking to, you know, if you sit down and, you know, there's a lot of waiting time between scenes, you kind of get wrinkled and you're not impressed. And Jessica has to be impeccable at all times. I mean, don't you look forward to that? I mean, isn't it nice? She's kind of a unicorn in that way. She doesn't really exist in nature. She just wanted to look perfect at all times. So I was like, I need a leaning board. And so they looked, and this thing is enormous, by the way.
It really, and it's also red velvet.
And it's red velvet. It wasn't my idea,
She put
but
it
I
in
have
her
a leaning
contract.
board that's red velvet and in cushion, and everyone's like, is that comfortable? I said, it doesn't matter.
And then Rick
That's none of your
insisted
business.
on getting one.
I have to look impeccable. But that's part of, you know, that's part of the deal. I take it very seriously. You know, you
Half
get
the
your
time
thing.
she's just like,
No, there are pictures of me. I'm sure there's somewhere
It's
where I'm
actually quite
on my
glamorous.
leaning board, and it's fun and it's great. But it's quite a responsibility to wear those outfits. It's quite heady and exciting and seductive and exhausting. But I think it all works out in the end, right? I mean, everyone's so fascinated by by what we're wearing, and even at fittings. You know, we all have our racks and things come out and dresses come out or outfits come out. Go, oh, that's a Donna dress. No, that's definitely a Donna. No, that's a Jessica dress. That's a skirt and that's so Rachel. So Jolie has done an amazing job. That's so Rachel. Was that a show?
That's the spin-off. It's so Rachel.
That's so Rachel. But she has an incredible job of making sure that, including the men, they all have a very specific look.
I like sports. Who here likes sports? All right, cool.
Wait, but are you in Brioni?
I don't really know what I wear.
Okay. Because Gabriel for a while was all just custom Tom Ford, and then Patrick I know was doing
Burberry.
Yeah, Burberry, like a slimmer cut and like
Very British cut.
yeah. Who am I thinking
But
of? Tom
you're dressed
Dixon.
as Donna today, and that was a very specific
Yeah,
thing for
which,
you.
by the way, is
Well
so
done.
cool.
You know, so it's fantastic.
All right, let's take another question. I think there you go. I hear somebody over here.
Oh yes.
So my question would be for Gina. How does it feel to be not only a woman, but a woman in color breaking, I guess, stereotypes in primetime TV?
Oh, are we getting deep? I see? I guess I'm doing that. Am I doing that? Am I? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
No, not to make complete light of it. I am doing my job. I am living my dream. And it never really enters my mind or my consciousness. I'm going to break down doors today when I go to work. I'm going to make it easier or make it more possible for anybody who's watching on television to dream big. I am doing my job, and it is with tremendous gratitude and humility that I get to do what you said that I do.
I want to jump in. For Gina for a second, because first of all, you know, you hear some certain actresses' names again and again, and I'll just say sometimes there's a thread on TV like Olivia Pope versus Jessica Pearson, and let me just say, Jessica Pearson is the winner of that battle in my mind. But also, you know, Gina, all of them, they were saying I am available, and we talk a lot, me and the cast, each individual, and they care about what they do, they take it seriously, they're so smart, they always have an intelligent, constructive thing to say, and the show gets better from conversations you have with them, and I just want to thank them for doing that. And I was thinking of the scene, you know, you released the dragon, remember that scene? It was just an interesting scene about that a couple of years ago where Jessica sort of finds out to some degree, maybe she got a little ahead from being a diversity hire. When we wrote the scene, Gina called me up and said, if we're going to do it, we should do it. You're not pushing it far enough. And we had a conversation, and it resulted in a better scene. And that's the kind of thing that this level and this caliber of actor and actress brings to Suits. Thank you.
All right, let's do a question right there.
Yeah. All right, so my name is Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Questions primarily for Aaron. You actually almost alluded to it when you talked about Olivia Pope versus Jessica Pearson. But rather, have you ever thought of something like Harvey Specter versus Patty Hughes from Damages?
I think all of them versus Patty Hughes, any individual lawyer, Harvey included, would be an amazing matchup. Those are kind of things, though, to me that are a little bit fantastical because it's very difficult to switch tones of show and bring one character from one show into another show. And the danger is that you would sort of shatter the illusion of the world that you're in. I wouldn't be against it, but the other thing is probably not the same studio, and it probably would not really be practical to do. But in terms of Patty Hughes versus our people, it would be a hell of a battle.
This gentleman right here had a question. Does anybody have a mic for this gentleman right here?
He's got his lit up mug.
There we go.
And 3 glasses of wine by his
Oh, he
feet.
does. This should be a good
Not
one.
all of them are mine, I promise.
I thought there should have been a drinking game on the episode of every time someone says unindicted co-conspirator.
I was right here
drink.
taking a swig. No.
You did, evidently.
What's your question?
Actually, my question does relate to the mug, and I was wondering, Rick Hoffman, if you could sign it.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. That's absolutely. Keep going with the question. Come
Did
on.
you have a question?
No, that was it.
You don't have to.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a question from over this way. Oh, you do have one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This was for Donna. Why are you so awesome?
That's for Aaron.
Oh, okay. Oh, and is there a book of Donna? Because I would love one.
Rick is writing it. Where's Rick? He's been commissioned. He's expensive, but it's coming out. I can tell you
coffee table
what
book.
I am attracted to about Donna. There was a line. What season was my mantra line in? Was it season Rick?
Rick Baragi.
There was a line in a flashback in season 2.
208.
208. When Donna said she admitted to Harvey in kind of a funny way that she listens in on all his phone calls. She just sort of went like, "Whoa, I listened to your phone calls." Like, "See you later," and she just said, "Look, I'm not apologizing for who I am." I think that's an awesome person who is completely unapologetic for who she is. I think that's part of it. I think the rest I hand it over to Donna's creator, our Lord and Savior, Aaron Korsh.
She's awesome because Sarah's awesome. That's why Donna's awesome.
I agree with that.
All right, let's take one from this side of the room. I can't see whoever has the mic.
Hi, my name's Christina, and I really want to know about the can opener ritual.
I put it in 112. It was like, I think it was just an off-the-cuff thing. I wrote it in the season finale, season 1. And I remember Kevin Bray, our pilot director and used to be our producing director at the time, still does some episodes from time to time. Anyway, Kevin was like, listen, you got to tell people what this can opener thing is. You got to tell them. We can't not have it, reveal it in this episode. And I'm like, Kevin, you're nuts. If we tell them, they're going to forget about it. If we never tell them, they're never going to forget about it. That's my answer to your question.
All right. We're going to go over here.
Who all is going mudding this season besides Lewis?
Logan.
I want to go mudding. I want to go boxing. I want to go back to the gun range.
Been to the gun club. Yeah, that's right. We don't know yet. I think that's the last mudding scene in, unfortunately, these back 6. But it's a good thought to keep in mind for season 6.
Can't wait.
Rick, a day when you're in the
team-building exercise.
Rick, talk about a day when you're in the mud. What is a day like that like?
Well, now
The ones at work.
What?
Not your personal days in the mud.
The logistics
you.
of it. 'Cause
Well,
it's actually tricky.
no, I mean, so now if you now the question would be very different than the first experience when Patrick and I had the scene together. I mean, because it was one of those, trial by error type of situations. Nobody in crew really knew what was going to work, what wasn't, and we found out very quickly that we could not sync. So what would normally, like the scene between Jessica and myself in this last mudding scene really took 2 hours. The scene between me and Patrick took about 8, no longer of a scene, just because we were trying to, figure it out. So they had to put, I would say it was close to, 300 pounds of weights to get our bodies both into the mud, so it
To
looked
not
like we
float out of
were
it. So they have,
Prior to
sandbags
that-
to
on
look
them.
because we were buoyant, we were just floating, buoyant.
And naked and buoyant at the
Right.
top of the mud. Should we just
with
leave
a
it at that?
with close to
With
70
what?
people,
You can't
just
unsee that.
sticking their hands, trying to force our bodies in. And it turns out after the entire 8-hour experience, what mud does, apparently it's supposed to be good for you and it sucks out all the toxins, except that's for an hour. For 8, my spleen, Patrick's liver, and I slept for about 18 hours that day.
Note to self.
I was told by a doctor, should have had an IV at a hospital.
I think I don't think people have any idea really the length that it takes for even the end of season 2, the file room scene. That was 7 hours of filming
GF.
for that file room. But mudding, all of it, it takes such a long time, and the finished product ends up being what? That's actually kind of funny. Just a couple minutes.
That's what she.
But
Sometimes we cut the scene. We should have cut that scene just to have fun with Rick. Yeah.
Oh man, the entire. I mean, come on. How many times can a guy be in mud scenes and propose naked for the sake of comedy? What does that say about? I mean, what does that do to my conscience?
that you're awesome, like she said, that you're awesome.
What's very
Why your
sweet of you.
name's on
Thank
a
you.
mug.
Your name is on mugs.
The writers right now are conspiring, going, how can we get him to embarrass himself this year? How can we get him?
We're going to wrap it up tonight. About that, Aaron. go
Studio
ahead.
and network people are here tonight. I don't know where you are, but
Where are they?
it is the most supportive and collaborative people that you will ever have the pleasure to work with, top to bottom. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to my wonderful panel here. Thanks so much. Seuss is back January 27th, 10 p.m. on USA next Wednesday. Tell everybody.